The 1114 one is which one? The error handling. Is what?
Just pending further review or further review and update something.
And then
you're doing that one. Yeah, VS just waiting new revision.
Can you make it on the train line?
You need a plugin to just automatically upload.
be nice actually. Yeah. Cheers, lads.
What time is it?
Time.
Oh, it's time. I have to download it again.
Yeah, they're going right now.
Good afternoon. That's right, the mic's on. Konnichiwa. It is this is the Grow meeting in IETF 94. If you're not supposed to be in Grow, you're in the wrong room. You should change or stay. You know, it might be fun. If somebody can kick the door closed in the back, that'd be great. We'll be ready to go in just a minute. We just had to update our slides quickly. In the meantime, for those that have to stand up and use the mic, could we do us a favor and keep the mic close to your mouth and keep the mic in front of your face? Doing this is not helpful to people in the room. Also doing this is not helpful to people in the room. Please keep it close to your face. Thank you.
I'm having a technical conversation with the very smart, the smartest person in the room.
Oh, that's not. You are. Please tell me.
Okay, the premise of the world first.
Okay, here come all the threads. First, oh, there we go. There we go.
Full screen mode.
Full screen, there's the meeting, here's Job. Note well, I'm sure you've read it at least once already today. So on we go. We had some late agenda bashing, addition of things we forgot to ask for earlier. Right, so the filtering threats draft is sent off for publication. The error handling draft, there's a set of comments between Wes and the author that needs to be dealt with or reviewed, updated. The route leak problem, Sriram has addressed all but the last comment. I think there's one hanging comment which is in flight and questions and answers are going back and forth. So we'll have that squared away shortly and sent off for publication. The GSHET draft is expired as it always is, but it's waiting on some reference documents, so it's not a super big deal for us, I guess. And the RPCL via Job is filling in some last bits with his BNF changes, and then we'll have a new revision and we'll be able to go forward with that. IRR routing policy considerations is an editor queue, so is the route server operations, and BMP is fighting its way through some discussed comments. I think mostly, John's not here, so mostly that got squared away. I think there's a couple of little nits to deal with, but it should be off on its way soon. That's it. All right, so now we have our presenters, the first of which is Thomas. Notes. Oh yeah, we need someone to take notes. Holy crap, we went so far forward and no one has notes and no one has Jabber stuff. I totally forgot.
Wes George, you said that BMP was moving through a discussed comment. Has there actually been motion after your ranty thing?
Yeah, we had. Yeah, so we cornered John cornered me in the meeting, the welcoming meeting thing. We cornered Stephen Farrell and had some progress. We've had a couple of offline comments about the direction for Stephen's issue. I think that also probably will clear up Kathleen's, and then the last one is to deal with Benoit's yang, everything must be yang comment. So we'll yang it up like we do. We still need because I forgot to ask earlier, somebody to take notes and somebody to Jabber scribe. Then we'll back up and do this all over again. No, we won't. 1, 2.
Colin has Jabber. Yes, Colin.
Okay, Colin can do the Jabber, but he will have to jump up midway through. That's fine. And then notes. Bill, you're taking notes? Hands-free notes?
I'd be happy to take notes, but transcribing them into something legible later will be difficult.
Okay.
That's a bad idea.
Oh. Job with the notes?
I'll take notes.
Sweet, thanks, man. Okay, so Thomas has, which one is his? Yeah.
There you go.
Doesn't work. It's not on.
Might help. So it's better, probably.
There you go.
Yeah, is that good? Good. My name is Thomas King, and I'm talking about Black Hole BGP community for black holing. And this is joint work together with my other names on the list and all the feedback we got. Next slide, thanks. I will give a little bit more context than usual because I have been given a 50 minutes slot. So let me quickly describe what this draft is all about. Though if we have two networks, network A and B, and they do peer with each other, and there's a massive DDoS attack attacking network B, it could be, thank you, it could be the case that the link that is used for interconnection gets congested based on the massive DDoS attack, and also resources within the network of B could be overloaded. A solution to
Sorry, just a pointer, sorry.
it's just a pointer, so next slide, please. A solution to that is black holing, and that's all around for a couple of years, so that's nothing new. What network B does to get rid of the massive DDoS attack or the consequences of that is it could announce a more specific black hole announcement to network A, which might support that feature, and then network A starts a black hole, the little dot here, and all the traffic to the black hole IP prefix is black hole, which means the link gets freed up and the internal resources within network B as well. So next slide, please. So now we are coming to the internet draft after providing some context. Though the idea was that we looked into how black holing could be triggered, how it's implemented at different places, and we realized, and I'm actually from an IXP provider, we realized that in the IXP world, there are different implementations of how to trigger a black hole. And we have things like black hole IP addresses, and that are used in the next hop. In the next hop, or as a next hop IP address in the BGP announcement. And we have things like black hole communities that differ from IXP to IXP. The thing is that some of these black hole communities also come from the policy control community space that is used at route servers usually, that are marked with this red, how do you call that? Red thing. If you look at ISPs, you see that ISPs usually use black hole communities to trigger a black hole, but they use usually different black hole communities for that. And you know, we heard from our customers that triggering a black hole is really cumbersome and difficult because everybody does it differently. So we saw a demand to come up with a commonly agreed way of triggering a black hole for IXPs and ISPs at the same time. So we started thinking about the internet draft. So next slide, please. So actually that work started already in 2014. Probably you're aware of that because I was talking about that a little bit earlier already. But let me quickly recall that. So all this started in the EURX community. EURX is an association of European, it's only European, it's broader nowadays, but it started as a European IXP association. And we had a discussion on commonly, of how could we come up with a commonly agreed trigger for black holing. And there was quite a discussion on the mailing list. And after that, we came up with a with the idea of using the black hole BGP black hole community, which is a well-known community for which is 6553566. I know that IANA has to approve that, but that's the idea to go to IANA and ask them for that number. We had a presentation and also panel discussion about that during the 25th EURX forum. It's really little bit than a year ago. And after that, we worked on the internet draft. Beginning of this year, we were submitting the internet draft to the CRO working group. There was a discussion during IETF 93, and there were 2 requests from the ORX and CRO community, which are more or less the same. One thing was that we should not only focus on IXP, because the initial drafts covered only IXPs, so ISPs should be added as well. And we should be more specific about operations and how this thing could be handled. So we worked on these 2 requests. I will talk about that on the next slide. And 2 weeks ago, during the 27th ORX forum, we discussed what we have worked so far. So next slide, please. The current state of the document is that we added ISPs to the document as well. Job Snyder committed himself to contribute that part, and he did that perfectly well. Actually, we did that right after the last CRO working group meeting. And we also looked into the operation recommendations. There we added 3 parts. One was about local scope, so no advertising, no export should be added to black hole announcements. We also looked into how a PGP speaker should handle incoming black hole IP prefixes. So it should check the length of the prefixes, that's not too large. And it should also make sure that for the black hole announcement, that this is the more specific, so which means there's also a larger IP prefix announced. And we looked into the IXP world, so how does blackholing work with route servers, and for that we have policy control, which can also be used to for scoping in terms of, you can select which AS should receive the announcement and which should not receive the black hole announcement. And also the implementation that many IXPs usually rewrite the next hop IP address during the blackholing. So all that was added to the version 1 of the internet draft, which was released a couple of months ago. And I am currently not aware of any comment or requests that is unresolved. So all the input should be put in. So we asked for working group adoption, which was actually accepted today. So thanks for that. Next slide, please. So we are looking for more feedback, comments, and of course questions. And please provide us some insights into what you think about the current draft. So that's pretty much it. Questions?
I'd have to guess by the response that you've done your work, and actually I'm not. It's probably a pretty fast draft, so we could probably do last call somewhat soon. So.
Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Colin?
Hi there. So I'm here to talk about sorry. Okay, does this work a bit better? Okay.
Yeah.
So here to talk about a draft that I wrote a couple of weeks ago. Posted it to the grow list to see if I get any feedback. Slightly long and convoluted name. Could probably do with being shortened a little bit, but there you go. Does this?
No.
It just does the pointy part.
You have to nod or gesture
right.
or say something.
So a little bit of
you gotta step forward. You gotta
Sorry,
kind of
okay.
talk
Right.
into the mic.
do this. Right.
Yeah.
So a little bit of background. In the IDR group, they're currently working on the specification of advertising additional paths in BGP so that a BGP speaker can announce more than just their best path to a neighbor. They can announce multiple paths for the same prefix without replacing the previous ones. Now, the way they've done that is they've altered the NLRI encoding on a BGP message, and the interpretation of that is now subject to some new BGP capabilities. So all of the prefixes that you find now have, beforehand they were just a prefix length and then the prefix itself. Now they've added a 4-byte path identifier onto every prefix that they send in order for the receiving router to discriminate between them, mainly so that they can then tell when there's then a withdrawal for the same prefix which path it's referring to. Now, one of the things with that is that in order for a BGP receiver to actually be able to parse it, they need to know how many bytes to expect. And that's something that's available to the BGP speaker because of the the capabilities that were negotiated at the in the session. Now, there are.
You want next slide? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, right. Okay. It's not actually.
Yeah, no.
Okay. Sorry. Okay. So where this then comes from is. Sorry. So where this comes from is the MRT dump specification. If you want, it normally encapsulates a raw BGP message so you can store it. But in order to be able to parse that message, you again need to have that information that was available in the capabilities, so you know how many bytes you're going to be reading. That information is in the open message, but MRT messages are standalone. You may have an MRT message for a message that was received several weeks after the session originally came up. So in order to preserve this new information and to tell the parser how many bytes it should read, what we're saying here, sorry, next slide please. There's type codes in the MRT specification, which are used to carry semantics to the parser. There's a couple of examples of that. One of them is used to indicate whether the message was a sent message or a received message. And another one is to indicate whether there's a AS4 or an AS2 path in the message. Because they redefined the existing AS path attribute for AS4 rather than creating a new one, again, you need that information in order to know how to parse it. So, next slide, please. What this proposal was is to add new type codes that signal to the MRT parser how many bytes it should read in the NLRI, basically. So what we've done is replicated all the existing type codes, subtype codes for AS4, non-AS4 local, AS4 local, and added an additional path version of it. That's basically just there to tell the parser how many bytes it should expect. Slide. There's ones for both the received update messages and also for the BGP routing table dumps in the table dump v2 type. Again, it just redefines all the existing ones or adds new subtypes that are basically the same as the previous one, but they tell you you should expect this number of bytes in the message. Next slide. So that's basically it. Wrote this as a draft, proposed it. Allows you to then store the additional path data within an MRT file. Next slide. And that's pretty much it. I think it seemed like a sensible enough draft, and be interested if there's any feedback or comments or anything like that. Or if anyone's interested in working on the document, co-author, whether anyone wants to adopt it. If anyone hasn't had a read of it, please have a read and provide feedback on the list.
Did you say you wrote code already, or?
So at the moment, so I'm one of the co-maintainers of the BGP dump software, and this kind of came about from me looking at the additional path spec and then seeing whether BGP dump could handle it, and it couldn't because of this. Right. It's with the way I've done it here, it's pretty trivial to add, and I can add support to it in the BGP dump parsing library. Producing the data is implementation specific, depending on is it Quagga or Bird or whatever. Yeah.
So one comment, Thomas King from DKIX. This is very important work because MRT is just important. So that's cool. And I don't want to be a co-author, but I definitely want to read the document. So please send it to me. I will have a look.
Yeah, okay, will do.
Oh, it's
Thanks.
already on the.
It's on the list, yeah.
Oh, perfect.
Can we have a raise of hands who believes this should be a working group document? Okay, who doesn't, who thinks it should not be a working group document? Okay, so yeah, we have positive support. It seems like something reasonable since the protocols used. So we'll
Okay.
take it to the list and go from there.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks. Jared.
Hi, I'm Jared Motch, for those of you who don't know me. This is a quick presentation on a very simple draft. It's been shared on the IDR list back in July and received a little bit of comment and information. Peter, it's not up there, but so the basic premise of this draft is that when you're talking to an eBGP speaking peer, that you must not advertise any routes and must not accept any routes from them until you actually configure a routing policy. This is primarily created by the problem of some vendor implementations. In order to configure a BGP session, you type in router BGP and then neighbor 12345 remote AS6 or whatever. And press return, and then the BGP finite state machine starts running before you have a chance to actually go in and configure any policy. Most vendors, there's already more than one vendor that has an implementation that has this in there by default, and so this is really documenting it. I see this as a security issue. You can tell because the iOS XR configuration knob, it says in order to disable this built-in safety check, you type in BGP unsafe eBGP policy command, which is, I think, a very clear acknowledgement of the issues with this. These are real-life issues that exist that are observable through CROM's draft as well of all the routing leaks, and this contributes to the damage that you see out there on the internet. Next slide. And so, I mean, basically, I received some input, from people on the mailing list. I haven't solicited Grow yet, I don't think. And so I'm here to solicit input from people in the room as well as send out a message on the list. So I'm here to take your complaints and bullets and shots at this draft or any ideas around improving it.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Sure.
The draft currently has no home. Are you trying to find a home for it?
I'm absolutely trying to find a home for it.
So would you clarify what your home location preference would be?
I have an interest, just personally conceptually, that I think that it should perhaps be an IDR. That's my own personal bias and thought, because this is really something that the implementers need to know about who are going and writing stuff. But I am not an expert in the whole IETF regime, believe it or not. And so if it belongs in Grow, then I would be happy to have it find a home in Grow as well.
I am an old person and I can't read this, but it says, please state your name when speaking. This is Bill Manning, and Jared bribed me with ice cream or something like that. To point out that for me, anyway, I don't know about anybody else, but I've been around a couple of weeks. This provides either a level of inconsistency in the way I expect things. This is the reverse Polish calculator of routing. And I grew up with TI, and it just irritates the crap out of me, because I think that when you have a router and it's got connected interfaces and you have prefixes attached to those connected interfaces, that those connected interfaces should get put into and be accepted by the BGP process state machine as soon as it starts. Propagating that, sure. But connected routes, you shouldn't have to configure them. In my personal worldview, however, that creates a level of inconsistency because connected routes then become special. So if you want to treat everything in a consistent manner, this probably makes sense. It just irritates me.
Wes, I don't, I can't hear you because you're not at the microphone.
Wes is complaining that I am being ambiguous yet again.
So this is Jared responding. I absolutely agree with the premise that you're being inconsistent, because I'm not talking about what you do inside of your IGP. I'm talking about what you do externally, and that you should, in order to speak externally to an upstream, a peer, or someone else, that you should have to configure an explicit policy. I don't care if that policy is permit all.
So hold on, because now Kathy wants to interject, and I can't really interpret Kathy. I'm gonna have to bring you the microphone. I think that if you're going to do this,
I'm going to do this. It says BGP.
if you're going to do this at all, you should do it for every prefix, not just the ones that you hear from peers. You should do it for your connected ones as well. Crimea River. I will erase the E. Meet your new co-author. Erase the E. I mean, be consistent.
No. Thank you. Thank you for your input, Bill. It has been it has been heard and received, but it will be taken back to the committee for consideration, and you will be notified if we entertain your idea.
Rüdiger Volk, Deutsche Telekom. Well, okay, looks fine with me. And I was happy that one of the more recent platforms that I'm working with actually got it right. On the other hand, of course, there's the question, what other advice do implementers actually need? Do they need the advice that, well, okay, doing the transitive definition of attributes in BGP actually works well if you have to explicitly say we want to send communities?
I think that sounds like a great idea for another draft.
Now, on the other hand, even worse, do implementers need the advice that the semantics of the well-known communities actually should be truly implemented? Like, I hated to actually install in my explicit policies that no export should not be exported.
Rick Taylor, I'm sort of a wanderer into this group. This isn't my normal thing to do, but I have a spare space in my slot. What concerns me about this is you seem to be putting mitigation advice for some implementations who have BGP software that works in this way. Is this really IETF business? Yes, then, you know, systems which do this kind of live turn on your eBGP now, and if it is live, it should be. I understand what you're saying, and it's a very good point.
Sure.
But,
so I would argue it's implementation guidance to the BGP implementers.
okay. Okay. If
Yeah.
that's fine. I just wanted to check on that.
So just for clarification, I think one of the things that Grow is supposed to do is to say, gosh, you guys made a great thing. You kind of screwed up how you made it work.
Okay.
Could we fix it in this way, please? Right. I think that's perfectly fine for Grow to say. I mean, Grow may decide that Jared's totally crazy and toss out his idea or not. I mean, I think it's something here, but overall, the purpose of Grow is to say this is working properly, or we could use some improvement in this way because this makes the operation of the network hard.
Okay, thanks.
Can we have a show of hands who believes this should be a working group document? And anybody who feels it should not be a working group document. Okay, so we have some strong support. We have to take it to the list. It does seem like there's probably more discussion to hash out the issues and scope, and we'll go from there.
Thank you.
Anything else? No. Okay, that's it for our agenda today. I guess we will see you in, is it Buenos Aires? All right. Have a good day.
Oh, yes, yes. Oh.